but not one of the 11 sports in the Winter Goodwill Games. Coming up, two-man bobsled. Yesterday, Brian Shimer and USA won, and Italy won. Both crashed. We'll see how they do today in the opening 2 runs on the brand-new course here in Lake Placid.
The 2000 Winter Goodwill Games on TNT are brought to you by the remarkable power of Duracell Ultra. More power, more life. By Autotrader.com, the biggest, best used car site on the planet. By Quiznos Oven Baked Subs, a proud sponsor of the Goodwill Games. By Lincoln Financial Group, clear solutions in a complex world. And by Heineken, it's all about the beer. Heineken.
And we're back live on TNT at Moose Lodge at the Whiteface Club on gorgeous Lake Placid. Once again, we see some blue skies, and we've got lots more to come. Already great mogul stuff, and the finish in the Nordic combined. Welcome back. You know, Lake Placid, since, well, going back to 1932, holding the first Winter Olympics here, the 3rd in history, also was able to campaign and get the games for the athletes in 1980. And this city is largely based on attracting events. This goes back now some 70 years to a place called the Lake Placid Club. Lisa Densmore certainly knows about the area. She grew up here and tells us more about it.
100 years ago, Lake Placid was already a popular summer resort among wealthy New Yorkers, including one Dr. Melville Dewey, inventor of the Dewey Decimal System. It was Dewey who founded the Lake Placid Club on the edge of Mirror Lake. The concept of a winter resort did not exist. During the winter of 1905, he ordered 40 pairs of skis from Norway, then invited 10 cronies to Lake Placid for an experimental winter outing. The 10 skied, skated, and went tobogganing. As a result, Lake Placid quickly earned a reputation worldwide as the winter playground. The Lake Placid Club would host numerous international winter competitions, but it was the club's sponsorship of speed skating events, the glamour sport at the time, that would ultimately land Lake Placid the 1932 Winter Olympics.
And Lisa, they ordered those skis from Norway because none were made in the United States at the time. And at that first Winter Olympics here in 1932, there was a bobsled. Then there was bobsled again in 1980. They added refrigeration. Now there's a brand new track because that original track was outdated. Yesterday, it looked like this track may have been too challenging and too tricky for some of the riders. Now in our coverage sponsored by Power Bar, we send you out to see what happened earlier today in the two-man bobsled. Tim Singer and John Morgan on the scene.
The bobsled community, which is huge here in Lake Placid, would say, you've seen the rest, now get set for the best. Welcome to the two-man bobsled competition here at Mount Van Hovenberg. As we check out the weather conditions, well, Al Troutwig, it's not quite as toasty as it is over in the Moose Lodge, but it has warmed up to a balmy 28 degrees under sunny conditions. Hello, everyone. Tim Singer here at Mount Van Hovenberg. Well, back in the 1960s, when most American kids were idolizing the likes of a Johnny Unitas or a Mickey Mantle, there was a little blonde-haired boy here in Lake Placid that stood trackside over at the old track and idolized the likes of a Eugenio Monti and some of the other bobsled legends. John Morgan, 35 years later, you're still here, you're still a kid at heart, loving this sport.
It's a big day for Lake Placid to have this brand new, fantastic facility being tested like this. And Tim, when I was competing, it was a man versus the mountain. You came out here and you just wanted to get down the track. The sport has really drastically changed with these new artificial tracks that have been built. But the one they built here is a challenge. These athletes up here, the best athletes in the world, have all they can do just to get to the bottom.
And among the best is an American.
Brian Shimer in 3rd place into the first heat. But yesterday is a good example of how this track challenges everybody. Here's Shimer in practice yesterday. He already crashed once, and this is the 2nd time in 5 trips he crashes. He comes through the finish corner, and his first quote getting out of the sled was, hey, we always wanted a challenging track, and now we got one.
Well, there was a lot of skepticism entering this competition in light of those crashes, but already we've had 1 heat of this competition. Let's check out some of the highlights, and it was Shimer off of the track first.
Yeah, Shimer took advantage of fresh ice. He's got a bad leg, and I was very impressed with his start time, the way he legged it out, and he was pretty good down below. Again, he took advantage being the first guy down, and he puts himself in medal position.
From Latvia, the driver Sandis Prusis, he had a surprisingly good run.
Well, he's one of the best pilots in the world in 4-man bobsledding. 2-man bobsledding doesn't get the start times, but the start time doesn't matter here. It's the drive down below, and Prusis was perfect.
Now, John, next up is the man you said would win this easily.
Well, he's in second place right now, Tim. I think he's just lurking from behind, and I think he's going to be our gold medalist when this is all said and done.
And don't think for a second the first run wasn't without some excitement.
Hey, here comes the Czech Republic finding out why they put lips on this track, Tim. He almost went out.
So after 1 of 4 runs here at Mount Van Hovenberg, it is the Latvians, Prusis and Ozols, atop the leaderboard, followed by the Germans, but 2 American sleds in the top 5. First up here in the second heat, they were in 6th place after run number 1. This is the Italy team of Günter Huber and Christian Lagrassa. And John, Brian Shimer was not the only experienced pilot immune to this track.
1998 Olympic gold medalist. Look what happens to him in practice yesterday. On his head. He went right back up, came down, showed us a bruised elbow, bruised ego, and he's still here.
That's head coach Meinhard Niemer of the Italian team. He won the gold medal here at the 1980 Olympics.
First guy to break a minute barrier on the old track, and that was like Chuck Yeager breaking the speed barrier. It was unbelievable.
Now, the split times you'll see on the left side of your screen are that of the French sled that just went down the track. They hold the lead with 6 sleds remaining.
And this little diminutive Italian reminds me a lot of Eugenio Monti. Small, but boy, has he got some eye-hand coordination. I rank him as one of the top 2 or 3 best 2-man pilots in the world, if not the best.
Great tradition of Italian luging. This is a 4-heat race. It's combined time. Lowest total time will win this thing.
Oh, that's a big skid there and some heavy problems. 12's going to suck him up. He's losing a lot of time back. He's only got a 3,300 lead, Tim, and he hasn't caught up from that skid. Look at no speed, 78.5. The French at 79.9. And he's going to have all he can do to be atop the leaderboard at the bottom.
Huber and Lagrassa making their way around the final few curves towards the finish. And their time is 1:55.93 by 0.02 of a second. The slightest of margins, like the bill of that baseball cap you just saw, they have maintained their lead.
I tell you what, he was squirrely out of shady. Watch the sled, the back end of the sled here, a little bit of a skid. Now he comes off late. He's got to make an adjustment, and this is where it starts. He didn't catch up to this sled for another 25 seconds. The rest of the way down the track, all he did was throw away his time. Watch this here in the chicane. We're looking at runner tips here. He's got problems here. A little sweep to the right, now back to the left, and he's just trying to get control. He's still in skids. He's still in a skid. And this is the best driver in the world, I was saying.
Most consistent driver. You see the 2-run time of 1:55.93. Huber and Lagrassa have the lead. 5 sleds remain, including 2 sleds from the United States. And in 5th place after run number 1, it is the team of Todd Hayes and Garrett Hines. John, 3 years ago, no one had heard of this man, at least in bobsledding.
Well, he's paid his dues, Tim. He's been on the Europa Cup circuit, this year the World Championship circuit. And I tell you, he surprised everybody with a 6th place finish at the World Championships 2 weeks ago in Altenburg, Germany. He had the 2nd best time in the final heat. He is coming on.
Garrett Hines, the brakeman with Olympic experience. He is a veteran to this team, and they are a great starting team here at the first 50 meters.
Had the 2nd best start time with the first heat, 5:13. Hayes is probably the biggest pushing driver in the world. Let's see if they can match that consistency. They do. 5:13 in both heats, Tim. That tells you a lot about consistency, which is needed in this sport.
Hayes, 30 years old. He's from Del Rio, Texas. Garrett Hines calls Atlanta his hometown.
Garrett's in the military. Hayes is one of them fight to the death guys.
Ultimate fighting competitor and a kickboxing national champion.
He's got his hands full right now with this sled. He's driving a Bodine bobsled down the track today. Good exit out of shady. That bodes well for his time. He's clean down here in 12. 1900's lead over the French at the bottom. And he's not real smooth in the chicane. Not the speed the French had. He has 78.5. The French at 79.9. This is going to be close.
Around the finish curve, these are the final few turns. Here come Todd Hayes and Garrett Hines of the United States. Still ahead, USA's Brian Shimer. But this United States sled has moved into the lead to the delight of head coach Steve Majorca.
Minus 19 to minus 35. It might have been there here in the chicane. He got it all together. We're looking for runner tips to see if he's doing any steering here. Runner tips coming straight at us. Look at the no spray coming off those runner tips. Tim, that's where he started getting his time back.
Well, the USA has the lead. We still have several sleds remaining here at Mount Van Hovenberg. And as we take you to the break, you ever wonder what this feels like to ride down one of these things? Try a roller coaster multiplied by 10.
See a powerful story about a father, a son, and a violent time that would tear them apart.
Why not let me learn on my own?
Why not let me save you the trouble? Danny Glover, Freedom Song. Sunday, February 27th at 7, only on TNT.
See near, see far, without glasses. Discover the revolutionary AccuView bifocal contact lens, the first with pupil-intelligent design. See near, see far, the way nature intended. The AccuView bifocal contact lens. Call us for a free trial pair certificate or visit your eye care professional.
Welcome to the NBA on TNT Announcers Camp.
You really have to work on a signature call, something like, yes, yes, ah. Keep working on it, kid.
You got it.
Up high, up high, down hard, down hard, yeah. Up high, down hard, up high, down hard, up high, down hard, down hard.
Tuesday and Friday, the NBA on TNT. Get game.
You want it? You got it. The wait is over. Sports Illustrated Swimsuit 2000, hosted by Damon Wayans and SI Supermodel as Stella Warren. Premieres next Saturday at 8 on TNT. TBS NBA Monday moves to the Motor City. It's the big league moves of Grant Hill against the power and passion of Morning and the Heat. Heat and Pistons, 8 Eastern Monday on the Superstation.
Back here at Mount Van Hovenberg, where American Todd Hayes has the lead in the two-man competition. Hayes and Hines riding the Bodine sled, financed and created by NASCAR driver Jeff Bodine. Jeff had a horrific crash yesterday at Daytona, and all of the bobsled community wishes him a speedy recovery. $15,000 awaits the winning team with good cash across the board. And here come the Canadians, John. Pierre Lueders and Ben Hindle.
Yeah, there's a wrong name in that graphic there, Tim, but Ben Hindle's one of those two Hindles that slide with him, Ben and Matt, part of the four-man team. And Pierre's missing his good brakeman, though, Ken LeBlanc, and he's been suffering spiritually all winter long. He's the 1998 Olympic gold medalist. He tied for that gold medal with Gunter Huber of Italy, but he hasn't been the same once he lost Ken LeBlanc to a knee injury.
Though to his credit, Hubert has won World Cup races with 4 different brakemen.
And +8 is a good sign for the United States and not for Canada. Huber's going to have to get this sled under control to have a chance to be the leader at the bottom, and he's skidding every place. Chicane, he's not too bad. Look at the speed, though, 81.3, the biggest speed we've seen so far. He could be the leader with that type of speed, Tim.
Sports cars on ice, cruising along with those high ice walls on each side. Here they come towards the finish. The Canadians are in a tie with the Americans, and Coach Ivo Ferriani is delighted.
That shows you what the speed does in the bottom part of the track. They went from +8 to dead heat.
Folks, they have ridden down this track twice. This is a sport time to the 100th of a second, and they are tied.
Look at this shot in curve 8. That's unbelievable. The sleds are stretched. The articulation of the sleds are maxed out, Tim. It's unbelievable challenge for these guys. Coming right at us here. This is why he had big speed. 81.2. Look at the runner tips. He had to do a little steering through that chicane, but not much. Those runners are straight at us. Big speed, and that's why he's tied for the lead.
The Canadians and the Americans tied for first in this competition as we get set for another United States sled. You know, John, we have to go back to 1956 to find the last Olympic Games where the USA has won a medal, but clearly in the last half century there has been no American driver better than our next man, Brian Shimer.
Well, I'm one of the guys who recruited him out of Naples, Florida, and I'll tell you, he's a great athlete. Just missed another World Championship medal last week by 0.02 of a second, but he's been plagued by an injury since La Plan, France, 1 month ago. Look at him limping here. For 1 month ago on La Plan, he started limping a bad calf. Now he's got one leg in the sled here in St. Moritz. He's just trying to keep his World Cup points. He's had injuries the last couple of years, really been haunting him, and he's got injuries right now.
He's 37 years old, and as you know, as well as anyone, as you get older, those injuries take a lot longer to recover.
Especially in a cold weather sport. Look at him limping now. That's not the same gallop. I know Brian Shimer. He's going to have all he can do it for a 5:25 or 5:26 start time. Suffering.
The brakeman is Paul Jovanovic. He's from Toms River, New Jersey, a new brakeman for Shimer this season.
And you know one thing, though, if you're a good pilot, you can give up a little time at the start on this treacherous track and have a good time at the bottom, Tim, and he's going to have to be perfect to be ahead of his teammate Hayes and Luders at the bottom. Plus 11, he's down to those guys right now. Look at him here in 8. That's a pretty good exit out of 8. The speed's going to be the key here in Shady. Look at it, now it's plus 10. He stopped the bleeding, and now that Bodine sled starts to motor.
The Canadians and the other United States sled are tied for the lead at the bottom.
Plus
200's the difference at the latest split. Now he's moved ahead.
79.9. Now it's to -4, but he didn't have the same speed as the Canadians. This is where he crashed right here. He's through that albatross. Could be bringing it home, Jim. Going to be right to the 100.
Could it be a three-way tie? Here they cross the finish line. No,
wow.
A huge advantage for the Americans at the bottom part of this track. Look at that advantage, nearly 0.4 of a second, a great ride. Advantage, nearly 0.4 of a second, a great ride for Shimer and Jovanovic.
I tell you what, you can't do this on the other refrigerated tracks in Europe, in Salt Lake and Calgary. This tells you why this is a driver's track. Shimer was limping. Look at this, noticeable limp here at the start. The guy's pushing off one leg, gets a 5:30 start. His teammate had a 5:13 start. That's an unbelievable disadvantage in this sport. But Shimer, through his driving ability and the Bodine sleds, which are famous in the speed part of the track, this is where the sled started the motor. The back end fell off a little bit there. He went from plus 10 at this point to plus 1 at the next spot to -4. Great driving by Brian Shimer.
Shimer, one of the most experienced pilots in the world. He and Jovanovic take the lead ahead of the Canadian and the other American sled.
Three minutes, that's how long I have to chase a dream across the ice. Attempt 5 jumps and land like a feather after each one. One moment of doubt, a second of hesitation, and years of training are wasted. I have 3 minutes to fail or become a legend. Again.
From Lake Placid, the 2000 Winter Goodwill Games, where the world's best prove it, continues tonight at 8 on TNT.
Statistics show when you take Motrin IB the minute you feel a headache, cheering is 20% louder and goals are met with 68% more enthusiasm. Motrin IB, life is too good to feel bad.
Yea, though I walk through the valley of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of my enemies.
Over the past 65 years, Chevy Suburban has come a very long way. Introducing the best Suburban yet. The all-new Chevy Suburban. Like a rock.
Every player dreams that one day he will be immortalized on an NBA poster. Unless he's that other guy on the poster. No matter what a player's famous for, he still gets thirsty.
Oh, he took him to school!
What do we got?
Straight line.
Give me 300 now. Clear!
There's a better way to toast a sub. Quiznos oven-baked classics.
Taking in the action here at Mount Van Hovenberg, the greatest Olympic bobsled pilot ever, Wolfgang Hoppe of the former East Germany, with 2 gold medals in 1984, 2 silvers in 88, and a bronze in 92 as well as 94. And John Morgan, this is his protege.
Well, this is his protege right here. Won the World Championships last week in Altenburg. This guy is the guy that's probably going to win double gold in Salt Lake in 2002. If I could get a bet down in Vegas, that would be it, Tim.
You're not a betting man, John Morgan, I know that.
I tell you what, though, he's young and big and strong, fast. This is not his normal brakeman. Not going to have the big starts that he usually gets in Europe. He had a silver medal in the 2-man World Championships. 5:17. He's got a 2600s lead on Shimer right now, who's at the bottom of the track in the leader's box.
The United States holds down the top 2 positions down at the finish. Just 2 sleds remain.
Well, Shimer going to have all he can do to just keep within a half second of this German sled. 3400s at that clock. Smooth out of the 8-9. Now into where the sled should slingshot effect on the bottom.
Also, keep in mind this track is being chewed up with each sled that goes down it, making it more tricky.
Yeah, now it's minus 34, only to minus 35. That's a good sign for the other sleds. Back to minus 34, same speed as Shimer. Now the bottom part of the track looks like he's starting to bleed back some of that time. Should be our leader by about 2000s though, Tim, 2500s.
Here come Lange and Berendt across the finish line for Germany, and they do it by 2800ths of a second. Nods of approval all around as the Germans have overtaken the lead from that man, Brian Shimer of the USA.
Well, Shimer gave up the time at the start to Lange and had a better drive down below, but that start time deficiency at 1300s was too much. Here we go in the chicane. Awesome shot this is. We're looking at runner tips here. We want to see these runners one behind another. He snakes himself through this little chicane. No steering. It's not the guy who steers the most that wins. It's the guy who steers the least. Andre Langer didn't do any steering through that chicane.
Try saying that to those drivers when they're coming down this track at 80 miles an hour, not to steer. Well, Lange and Berendt have the lead. We have 1 sled remaining here in the second run of the Goodwill Games luge competition. You know, back when the Soviet Union was a power in this sport, what sport weren't they a power in? All of the great Soviet bobsled drivers came from Latvia, and here is who they inherited.
And here's Sandis Prusis with his son Rudolph in St. Moritz last week, where he won a medal. The guy has been 2 silver medals this year on the World Cup Tour. He's been really coming on and developing himself into being a national hero in Latvia. They don't have a lot of winter sports medalists like this guy, and boy, I tell you, the last couple of years, Tim, he's really been coming on as one of the best pilots. He's like a Huber. He's like Mignon.
One thing they do have in Latvia is a track. They do not compete on that track. They have luge competitions there, but certainly it gives this man an advantage.
Well, they tested runners in that track in the old Soviet program that are still around. The coach for the United States team is a Latvian who distributes those same runners to the United States program. One of the reasons this guy's in the lead is because of the runners he's got in this sled.
During the offseason, Sandis Prusis is a lumberjack, and he's okay. At least he is in bobsled.
Well, he doesn't get a type of a power start. 5:19, not bad though. Only 200s behind Lange, who just went down. But watch this sled come down the middle. Now, we've seen a lot of rough edges from everybody else. This guy has got the great eye-hand coordination. One of the few guys that possess this. He's unbelievable, untouchable in 4-man ability. He'll be an unbelievable asset in this track at the World Championships here in 2003. Look how smooth he is.
Top 10 finisher at the 1998 Winter Olympics and a few World Cup victories over the past few years.
Tim, he's carving right down the middle of this track. 1400's the last clock. Now it's 17. Now he's flying. Should be 80-mile-an-hour speeds. There it is, 81.3. Best speed we've seen from anybody. And he's proven it right here. He is one of the best pilots in the world. Going to be our leader.
Final curve. Here comes Latvia sled number 1 across the finish line as the number 1 sled. 154.74 by 1700ths of a second. Sandras Prusis and Latvia 1 have the lead midway through this competition.
One thing this track is telling everybody, you just can't have a start time here to win. You got to drive. This guy is the best driver today. Let's watch him through the chicane. He had the best speed, didn't have the best start. Look at the runner tips here. Little spray off the back. Snakes himself through here. 81.3-mile-an-hour speeds is why he's atop of the leaderboard.
So Latvia sled number 1, the best run in heat number 1. They maintain their lead midway through this competition as we check out the standings. 2 heats are done. The Latvians are in front, but look at the Americans in 3rd and 4th place. We'll hear from them. The Latvians have the lead midway through this competition, but honored to be part of our power bar moment are the Americans. USA sled number 1, Brian Shimer and Pavle Jovanovic. They had the rough start, the clear injury, but it was this beautiful driving down below which has propelled them into 3rd place. Right now, Shimer is standing by with John Morgan. John?
Thanks, Tim. Brian, awesome driving down below. The sled was just rocketing on the bottom part of the track, that Bodine sled.
Yeah, the Bodine sled's flying, you know, and I'd like to wish Jeff a speedy recovery. I know he had a terrible accident yesterday, and he won't be racing in Daytona this weekend, but he's here with us this weekend. You know, the sleds. Jeff, this one's for you.
Obviously, the Bodine project is very important to Brian Shimer. Tim Slinger, back to you.
All right, thanks very much, John. Clearly an emotional Brian Shimer down there at the finish. The Latvians have the lead, but hey, this competition is only halfway done. Much more bobsledding coming up tomorrow. And don't forget, we've got the skeleton tonight. That is some wild action.
And from bobsled, we're going to take you to ski jumping. Can the United States possibly keep up with the depth of Austria, Japan, and Germany? We'll find out next on TNT. Today, live on the Winter Goodwill Games final day. 2-man bobsled, where G-forces violently battle their desire to steer for gold. We'll get our first look at the air, the mayhem, and the speed of snowboard cross, where it's a survival thing. Live from the big jump that rises above the trees, the intrepid take their leaps of faith. Plus, we return to the big bounces of freestyle moguls, except this time, it's double your pleasure in the Winter Goodwill Games. We are live on Main Street in Lake Placid, New York, the host for the 1932 and 1980 Winter Olympic Games. Once again, the residents of this small village of only 2,600 have been gracious hosts. This time, for the first Winter Goodwill Games. We've got blizzarding conditions, we've got strong winds, and we have airborne athletes. Could be problems, but we'll take you in a short while to the ski jump at the Mackenzie Intervale Ski Jumping Complex. Individual honors are on the line. Plus, we've already been dazzled by the exploits of the freestyle skiers. How about today, double moguls, where we learn later that it's not always all fun and games. Plus, at Mount Van Hovenberg 2-man bobsled, American Brian Shimer has put himself in medal contention. We'll have that live. And we welcome you. Just next to Whiteface Mountain is Moose Mountain. And just south of there, we find in the middle of Lake Placid itself, Moose Island. What other thing could we call our cozy lodge than Moose Lodge, which is there nestled just next to Buck Island in Pollywog Bay. And Lake Placid is completely frozen. Plenty of snow here at Moose Lodge, and we're glad you could be with us. It's hard to believe this is the fourth and final day of coverage. Time has certainly flown. But today, as we welcome you to the Winter Goodwill Games, we have 5 hours of coverage. I'm Al Troutwig, and later on tonight, we look forward to finding out if native Lake Placidian, if that's the right way, Jim Shea, can finally get the gold medal as he attempts to become the third member of his family to reach the Winter Olympics. Plus, live, we'll have a figure skating exhibition from the same figure skaters that dazzled us last night. And after some of the things that the men did, you wonder what they could possibly do for an encore. Plus, what may be my favorite new sport, snowboard cross. But that's tonight. Today, as we mentioned, we're going to take you to double moguls and the ski jump, but we begin with two-man bobsled. And our coverage is presented by Power Bar. We've already had a crash and an injury, so we'll get a live update now by sending you out to Mount Van Hovenberg. Tim Singer and John Morgan standing by.
All right, thanks very much, Al Troutwig. Well, there is a huge crowd here at Mount Van Hovenberg. They are racing fans. They don't care about a bunch of guys racing around in a circle down in Florida today. Their interest is on these race cars on ice shooting down this Mount Van Hovenberg track. Hi, everyone. Tim Singer live here at Mount Van Hovenberg. We've got a couple of stories brewing. First, as Al Troutwig just mentioned, Brian Shimer, the American bronze medalist. He is in bronze medal position, but he is hurt and is at this track only by sheer guts. Right now, I introduce my broadcast partner, John. And John, the other story, perhaps even bigger, it's dangerous out here again.
It's the man versus the mountain, and Mount Van Hovenberg is beating up the best bobsled pilots in the world, Tim. We saw that here in the third heat.
We still have the fourth heat ahead, but let's check out the third heat. This is scary, very scary stuff, and it began with the Olympic gold medalist from 1998, Pierre Lueders of Canada.
We've never seen him crash, but here on the exit of 18, he gets a little late on that right-hand wall, comes in late, upside down. But what's scary, Tim, is the way his head's hanging outside this sled right here. And it quieted us all for a few minutes. We were very worried for Pierre and his brakeman, Ben Hindle. But fortunately enough, Ivo Ferriani, their coach, a lot of concern. Lueders on the left, though, looked a little dazed, but looks okay.
He was dazed, taken to a hospital. We will give you a report if we get it. Now, just after the Canadians, the Americans, Todd Hayes and Garrett Hines.
Yeah, the sled gets away from Todd here. He gets on the wrong side of the wall right here, which means he's got to come in late to this corner, driving air. He's over in the Bodine sled. Garrett Hines finds a way to get out of the sled. Hayes is smart. He tucks himself underneath the sled and goes down to the finish. Luckily, both of these guys walked away.
Both are okay, but they are out of the race. Now, after waiting about 20 minutes, waiting and thinking, finally, Shimer and Paul Jovanovic made it down.
Shimer on one leg, and then Shimer had problems in a big shady corner, hit the lip, the sled went airborne. He hurt his ribs coming down. So Shimer's got a bad leg, bad ribs, but boys, he got some kind of strong mental mind at the moment.
As you said, John Morgan, if you were going to give an award, a gold medal for courage, it belongs to Brian Shimer. He has regrouped. He was in pain at the bottom, but he has promised us he will make it back to the top and give us a fourth run. So we check out the standings, and lost in all of this excitement is the fact that we have a very tight race atop the leaderboard. Latvia and driver Sandis Prusis just 6/100ths of a second ahead of German world champion Andre Langen. As you see, Brian Shimer and Paul Jovanovic holding down the bronze medal position. Now we pick up action as the fourth heat is just getting underway. John Morgan, we've had several sleds drop out, and can you argue with them?
Well, the French are far enough back to realize that they can't get to third place, and there's no extra money beyond the first top three guys. So Bruno Mignon has pulled out. Here's the Czech Republic, though. They decided to stay in the competition. They'll be the first ones off. Look what happened to them yesterday. Here he is. He loses a rope in the big shady corner, and that means the sled climbs. He's got no choice here. Goes up and hits the lip. So near disaster for the Czechs, but they're hanging in there. They're ready to go.
Well, the Czech Republic and driver Pavel Puškar will be our first sled. John, well, we've got a moment. This has been the underlying theme all weekend here at Mount Van Hovenberg. Is the track too dangerous? Does some work still need to be done?
The track is in its early stages. The ice needs to be better groomed. The losers were on the track, which means there's different take-ons and outlets. They're shaved more smooth for the losers to enter and come off the corners. The losers need a different type of ice than the bobsledders, and I think that's one of the problems here, is it's a brand new track, and both sports were on it, Tim.
There's a look at the sleds, the survivors, the 5 who remain. The Czech Republic will go first. Then, and another Olympic gold medalist, Günther Huber, the second down, Brian Shimer third, and then they run them from 5th place to 1st place with the Latvians, the final sled. John, on the subject of crashes, I know our viewers out there who are not astute bobsled experts, and that's just about everyone but you, they're wondering, where are the Jamaicans? Do they even still compete?
Well, I think the sunblock countries, as we call them, the Virgin Islands, Jamaicans, the Mexicans, and Puerto Ricans, better wait till this track gets better groomed before they come up here. This is, again, the man versus the mountain, the type of the sport, the way I knew it when I was growing up, Tim.
But I'm sure you and Al Troutwig both still have your Jamaican T-shirts on under your turtlenecks.
Yes, we do. Good starters here. Best start so far in the competition, 5'11" by these 2 guys from the Czech Republic right here. Kobe and his huge man in the back of the sled. A little colder up there. They've been sitting for a long time, 5'20". But again, he had a lot of problems. He dropped the steering rope down there in Shady, and they almost went out of the track yesterday, Tim.
They finished 8th place at the Olympic Games. They have been an inconsistent team. As you said, great athletes, maybe not great drivers, and that's dangerous in this track.
Every once in a while, they get on a track where the start really works for him. Here's where he had his problems, here in Shady yesterday. Let's see if he can get through it. He stays very, very low in that corner. That's going to cost him a lot of speed. Now into the 12, where they had the Americans crash. They got through that. Looks to me like he's doing a very safe line, Tim, but the safe line's not the fast line.
It's a 4-heat total time race. Naturally, the lowest total time will win. This is the first sled to make its way across the finish area here. Czech Republic #1, Pavel Puškar and Jan Kobium, and their finish time is 3:53.42. To the delight of their coach. Any coach is just happy that these guys will walk away okay.
Well, in essence, they're in first place at the moment, but they just beat the mountain, Tim. They made it down 4 times, and the mountain, they're one of the few teams that didn't crash. 5 of the 10 teams that have been here have crashed. These guys have made it down. They finished the week, and they beat up the mountain.
58.22 for the 4th run. That's 1 second slower than the fastest times we've seen.
Look how low he is here, Tim, way below where you want to be. And that's because he's steering, really steering, and that's going to cost him speed down below. But I don't blame him one bit. I mean, he's out here not looking for the fast line. He's looking for the safe line. Here he is in the chicane, looking for runner tips here. Let's watch the way he steers through this little S section. Do we see any spray coming off the runners? A little bit coming straight at us, so it's a pretty good safe run for Pavel Puškar.
Puškar and Kobian are done. Hey, they've guaranteed themselves at least a top 5 finish here at Mount Van Hovenberg. John, in many ways, this is like a throwback to the old days, the heyday, and I don't just mean the danger, but the crowds as well.
Yeah, this is the way I grew up out here, Tim. Thousands of people coming out for a Saturday or Sunday afternoon watching the action at Mount Van Hovenberg, and on the top of the track is probably one of the best pilots in the last 20 years to be in the sport.
And that pilot is Günther Huber of Italy. He shared the Olympic gold medal in 1998 with the Canadian Pierre Lueders. In fact, Huber also won a bronze medal at the '94 Olympics and several years was the World Cup champion. His brakeman is Christian Lagrassa. And John, you just said that this guy has the eyes of a hawk. He is perhaps the best clean driver on the circuit.
Yeah, diminutive in size. I mean, he's a throwback to where the drivers used to be. Gives up a little time at the start, but the 2-man bobsled is his specialty. He can smell 3rd place. He knows Shimer's hurt. He can smell it. He's got 3,200 separation between him and Brian Shimer, and I believe this guy is going to sit at the bottom and be very confident with his placing.
Well, the difference in prize money between 4th and 3rd is $8,000, so you know he has a bit of motivation.
But this guy, again, we talk about his abilities with his eyes and hands, Tim. There are very few people come around like him. There's a big skill. Look at the way he maneuvered those runner tips. That was wrong. Out of 7. 6, 7, 8 combination. Right here is where the sled has to move. Right here, coming into this shady corner. See if he gets high. The medium-low line. He also takes the medium-low line. Good exit into labyrinths, though.
The brakeman in the sport has to be sort of a yoga expert because they really have no role other than to tuck down there.
Yeah, they got to feel themselves in or on the track, though, because if they get on 2 runners, that brakeman can throw the sled back down on 4 runners, and we know how important the brakeman is today.
The Czech Republic has the lead down at the finish. Here comes Italy. Sled number 1, Huber and La Grassa. They cross and they do it easily by 1.78 seconds. 57.94 for the fourth and final heat, and they have the lead with 3 sleds remaining.
And again, they're through and down, Tim. That's the most important thing. Here he is in the chicane. Again, we're looking for runner tips as he snakes himself through this little S, little spray off the back runners. Look at his eyes. I mean, the guy is possessed. He's got a little bit of a skid going to the back end, a little bit airborne. That's that rough ice that's on this track right now. Another year or so, that'll be smoother ice.
3 more sleds remain here at Mount Van Hoevenberg, including American Brian Shimer, when we return.
In tennis, the advantage of the two-handed backhand is obviously power, because you're using both hands. But it also is deceiving because in a split second, you can change the direction of the ball that you hit. Your opponent never knows if you're going to rifle it down the line or rip it cross court, and I like that.
Knowledge is the edge. At Invesco, it's the approach we use to make money for investors. You should know what Invesco knows.
20 years now. Where'd they go?
Need help with those?
I can do it. 20 years. I don't know.
I mean, you just caught an edge. It happens.
I sit and I wonder sometimes.
Year after year, it's good to have someone you can depend on. Chevy truck. The one the U.S. ski team depends on.
When you get to your sinus pain before it gets to you with Motrin sinus headache, statistics show high notes sound 20% sweeter, spins are 40% more pleasurable, and being married feels a lot more like dating. Motrin sinus headache has a powerful decongestant, so you can put the pain to bed while you stay out all night. Motrin sinus headache. Life is too good to feel bad.
Sorry, Slugger. Sold out. Better luck next time.
The 2000 Winter Goodwill Games on TNT are brought to you by Invesco, a family of mutual funds. You should know what Invesco knows. By Chevrolet Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. By Autotrader.com, the biggest, best used car site on the planet. By Motrin IB, life is too good to feel bad. And by Power Bar, don't balk.
Well, the track here at Mount Van Hoevenberg may be brand new. There's nothing new about the history of this place.
Opening Christmas Day, 1931, for the 32 Winter Olympic Games, but the sleds became too fast for it. Danger here for 10 years. They built a new track in 1 year. Tim, they built this thing. It takes usually 2 years to build them. This past summer, they were finishing up the touches to it. They put the ice on it in January. 1 month later, we're sliding. Unbelievable construction plan.
And that comes courtesy of the support of New York State and the Olympic Regional Development Authority right here in Lake Placid, not to mention some very kind weather in the months of November and December. It was rather warm there.
Well, it's warm in this guy's heart right here, I'll tell you. Red Badge of Courage, our dude right here.
You have to go back to 1956 to find the last time the Americans medaled in the Olympics.
But he's limping here. I mean, this guy's running on one leg. He's got a bad rib. He was asking for an injection for it. He hurt that in curve 10 in the last heat. Shimer is a medical wonder just to be at the top of this track, to even attempt coming down this thing.
One thing he has always had throughout these injuries is great brakemen, and I mean great as in Edwin Moses, the likes of Herschel Walker, Willie Gault, and right now it is Pavle Jovanović's chore to try to motor Brian down this track.
I don't even want to watch this. One leg, well, he looks pretty good there, man. He's really liking this out. He had 5:37 in the last heat on one leg. 5:24.
1500ths of a second improvement, or 1300ths.
I don't know. I mean, that is unbelievable. The guy was limping in the first heat. And, Tim, you saw him 35 minutes ago. The guy could barely get out of the sled.
There's the Italy split time. Shimer a half second up.
Well, he's got it. If he just gets to the bottom here, he's going to win third. But he's, you know, this track, it's him against the mountain. I don't think it's the Italian down below. If he just lets the sled run to the bottom, he'll be at least in third place.
Another intermediate split coming up. He just makes it through safely there and extends his lead.
He's got one more trouble spot. The exit, he's perfect there. 79.9 speed. This is where the Canadians crash down here. These two runners on there. He's through now. He's going to make it, Tim.
Brian Shimer of Naples, Florida. Pavle Jovanovic of Toms River, New Jersey. They crossed the finish line with a sensational run. 1200ths of a second off of the track record, but well out in front of the Italians right there, Huber and LaGrassa.
Let me tell you, the guy is, it's unbelievable, the mental toughness on this guy right here.
And there you're seeing a huge groan of relief.
This guy won't be able to walk tonight. I mean, if you see him in the streets tomorrow, give him a pat in the back. This guy gave everything. I can't believe he could run like this. This guy's got one leg for the last 5 weeks. We've seen him limping. This is just all heart. This is why he's toiled in this sport for 15 years. And, you know, I was one of the guys that recruited him, and we recruited him because he did have mental toughness. He came from football. But right here, I thought it was all over. Almost on two runners. And this is where the brakeman's got to help him out a little bit to bring the sled back down off those two runners. Tim, he almost bought it. But right here, he's perfect. The chicane, he's not even snaking through here. He was absolute perfect. Look at the runner tips here. He came straight at us. That's one of the best exits. Unbelievable performance by Shimer.
And head coach Steve Majorca at the top. He knows a medal has been won. Well, it sort of reminds you of Willis Reed and that knee injury. He comes back, wins the final game. This is Shimer's final race of the season. And with heart and glory, he has won himself a medal.
And $10,000 at least.
There's a look at the standings with the Americans leading the Italians and the Czech Republic, but this race isn't over. In fact, in many ways, it's just begun. Two more sleds separated by just 6/100ths of a second.
And put your seatbelts on. These next two trips are going to be awesome. The young against the old. This is the young, Andre Lange here, the world champion in four-man, the silver medalist in the two-man world championships, and my bet to win 2 gold medals at the 2002 Winter Olympic Games. This guy is going to be a legend in this sport before he's through.
26 years old. He's from the former East Germany. Andre Lange.
He's been reeling in the Latvian the last 2 runs. The Latvian had a big lead in the first heat. He got some time back on him in the second heat and a lot of time in the third heat. Got it down to only 600ths. But he did a lot of steering there, Tim. Let's look for the line through here. He's a pretty medium-high line. Great exit. Now into the labyrinths. See if he's got that mistake in 12. No, smooth through 12. If he gets 80-mile-an-hour speed, it's going to be a lot of pressure on the Latvians. There it is.
Perfect in the straightaway.
But he made a bump there in the entrance. 81.3, though, was the best speed we've seen.
He has a huge lead over the Americans. That is no longer the contest.
Oh, this was a good heat. This is a lot of pressure on the Latvians up top. This guy is a future double gold medalist.
57.24. That is the second fastest run of the day. The fastest being this very sled in heat number 3.
Hey. A lot of pressure on this young East German pilot. He's from Oberhof. He knows what he just did. Another day at the office for him. Now here he is. Look at the head snap on there. That's the take on. 4.5 G's of force. A medium-high line. But watch this exit coming out. Perfect. Look at those runner tips. That's where that slingshot effect on the bottom part of the track. Here he is in the chicane. He doesn't come through here as clean as Shimer, but I think he had a better exit as Shady, which allowed him to have the better speed. Little mistake there, but the speed trap was above that.
Well, as you said, John, the Americans, their day is done, but they know they've won a medal. It should probably be a bronze. You said you'd put a bet on these guys. I haven't seen the spread yet, the betting spread for the 2002 Olympics, but I will go with you and place a bet on this German team.
Well, he is a guy with a lot of bright future.
As I mentioned earlier, the 2 fastest runs of the day have been put in by Germany driver Andre Lange, 57.20, and the second heat just 400ths behind. And what he has done, John, is put the pressure on this, the final sled, Latvia.
I don't even think he looked at the leaderboard. He didn't look at the times. This is a very experienced pilot. We talk about the young and the old. The former Soviet Union pilot in the late 80s that slides now for his homeland, Latvia. Becoming a legend in Latvia, Tim. He's got great eye-head coordination. He's in the same mold as Mignon of France, Huber of Italy. Very few people like this possess these type of driving skills, and he's going to need them in the next 45 or 50 seconds.
Sandis Prusis and Giannis Olzins, veterans, 8th place finishers at the Olympics.
Right here, he's going to have to be smooth. Now it's down to -3. He's going to have to stop the bleeding right here on the entrance into Shady. Real smooth. It could be even at the next clock, I bet, Tim. There, no, -4, he picked it up.
This is going to be down to the 100th of a second, right to the final few curves.
Oh, he's smooth. The speed's going to be the key. If he has 81-mile-an-hour speeds, he's got a chance to win it.
He's extending the lead now.
Blows everybody away, 82.9. Now,
a clean drive, a fast drive. This is what wins a bobsled race.
This is a driver's track, and this guy's proven it. We've had our problems out here, but this is what bobsledding's all about. The best driver, and this was the best driver today.
Not only that, put an exclamation point on it with a new track record. Not that the track is old, but 57.08 Latvia has captured the Goodwill Games gold medal.
I tell you what, this is a driver's track, Tim. It's the end of a wonderful story. There's a lot of doubts about the track, but the best did survive. The start up here is everything in bobsledding. He gives up a little bit. Look at the technique by the brakeman. Good leg drive and turnover. The knees are coming up good. The driver now can't get in and alter the start at all. It's got to be a power step into the sled. The brakeman now gets in, sits down behind in an aerodynamic position. But this is what it's all about, the driving skills, the medium-high line around the corner. Now watch the exit here. This is what it's all about. This is the slingshot effect on the bottom part of the track, and look at these runner tips. Perfect. He didn't steer right there, Tim. That was just excellent experience. Now in the chicane, again, looking for the runner tips. This is where he won it. He had 82.3-mile-an-hour speeds. That is unbelievable with the snow coming down. The guy just ice in his blood to come down this track like this.
Celebration in the entire Latvian camp. Sandis Prusis, one of the quietest men on the circuit, but certainly one of the nicest guys as well. And this is perhaps the biggest victory in his very long career. So a check at the final standings. As I mentioned, only 5 sleds survived out of original field of 10, but the Latvians take it with a new track record. They win it over the German sled of Andre Lange, but a great story for the Americans. Brian Shimer ending up with the bronze medal despite all of the injuries. Our power bar moment here at Mount Van Hoevenberg. We just saw him come down the track where so many others failed. Latvian driver Sandis Prusis succeeded, not only negotiating the tricky turns, but doing it at speeds upwards of 85 miles an hour. So that is the situation from Mount Van Hoevenberg. What a wild day of activity. We send it back to Al Troutwig at the Moose Lodge.
All right, Tim, does John Morgan love his bobs or what? That's great stuff. Meanwhile, wind, as far as ski jumping is concerned, is a major problem, and they've got plenty at the Mackenzie Intervale Complex. We'll check in there live next. Reminder that tomorrow it's the Miami Heat and the Detroit Pistons, TBS NBA Monday. Then Tuesday, the Houston Rockets take on the Charlotte Hornets. That's the NBA on TNT. Well, now we're going to talk luge for just a moment. We have a lot more of the figure skating to come. But when Mark Ramette, Brian Martin, Chris Thorpe, and Gordy Shear won medals at the Nagano Olympics in the sport of luge, it was big news. Then Mark Ramette and Brian Martin broke through and won the gold medal here at the Goodwill Games in the